Hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder at Online Seller UK. And today we'll be talking about Amazon product reviews. In fact, the topic is driving more Amazon product reviews without getting suspended. I'm joined by Sam from FeedbackWhiz. Sam, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, Prabhat, thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for reaching out. I'm really excited to talk with your audience and have a great conversation on product reviews today.
Excellent. So I think we usually start with the introduction about the speaker. So you can talk about yourself and what sort of projects you have been involved lately.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Sam Nedimyer, in charge of marketing at FeedbackWhiz. We are a automation and review management tool that helps Amazon sellers, drive more reviews, increase and repair their seller feedback. And then we also have a P&L tool and product monitoring options as well. Super excited. We have a new tool coming out. We can talk about it a little later on. But we kind of been really busy on tweaking our product and helping sellers increase those profits and reviews.
Excellent. So reviews for, it's important people read it and things like that. So there are lots of negative things about reviews as well. So as a seller, we can talk about private label sellers. So for example, so how important are the reviews for us?
So you're talking about private label, right? You have your own product. Well, just to throw some few stats out there and data, 88% of all consumers are going to read reviews before they even make a purchase, right? That's across all the boards. There's another weird stat too, 93% of all consumers trust reviews as much as they trust their friends. So Amazon's really focused on tweaking their A9 algorithm to make sure that your seller rank and authority is directly related to your product reviews and the strength of the reviews that you have there. So, I know you think about PPC and advertising taking over right now, but, and there was an interesting article on Marketplace Pulse that came out recently that said, like 5 or 6 out of the first 20 posts a consumer sees, or those are only going to be organic, right? The rest are PPC. So that's just going to kind of really drive you towards really tweaking in on your seller rank and your authority, so you can reach organically, and then that way your PPC costs go way down. So it just kind of makes sense to continue to strengthen your product and your reviews and have a strategy behind that so that you can improve your rank.
Excellent. So, well said. So to get the reviews, there are lots of processes involved and people follow various tactics, I would have thought. So, but as an Amazon seller, we want to and we need to stay within the guidelines. Otherwise, the risk is, as we started talking about, the risk is suspension. So do you want to talk us through some of the important guidelines a seller should follow while creating this review generation strategies?
Absolutely. So, as you know, in late 2020, there were some changes towards, kind of the Amazon, what we call the buyer seller messaging guidelines, or BSM. Essentially, what that did was beforehand, remember 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, you could just ask for 6, 7 reviews after, whatever, you'll ask everybody every day. And a lot of consumers were getting irritated. So Amazon made some changes again for the consumer, because that's what they're all about. And just some main changes that happened. The biggest one is you can only ask once for a product review or feedback. You can't use any type of incentive. You can't use incentive language, right? So leave us a 5-star review. We'll give you $5, right? You can't incentivize it. That's a big no. You also, when you're sending out your product reviews, you can only send to the user to links that are in Amazon, right? So either your Amazon storefront or, that's on Amazon, obviously, or to the product itself to leave review, the product page there. Some other things you can't do that a lot of sellers are doing a little kind of tricky. I mean, obviously it's Amazon. If you're not doing a little kind of black hat stuff, you're not really selling, right? But Amazon kind of cracked down on that a lot in terms of review manipulation, right? So you go onto the competitors, and they made it harder for competitors to buy your product, and they didn't make it harder, but they made it more of a penalty on you if you do that to your competitor products. Some other situations like putting in important information in your subject line just to bypass Amazon's rules, that was a no. So those are kind of like the main ones there. I also say that a really consistent issue that sellers are seeing that came from this change is not asking in a neutral tone, right? So asking something like, if you enjoyed our product, please leave us a review. as like simple as that sounds, that's a big no-no, because you have to basically say, we hope you enjoyed our product. Please leave us a review. Like that's all you can say is we hope you enjoyed it. You can also say something like, if you, just, we'd love your feedback to review our product, right? Like we would love you to give us your honest feedback. So, you can't really use different types of language to steer in the direction of that review. So those are just kind of more of the high level stuff. We have plenty of resources on our blog that the viewers and listeners can check out on FeedbackWhiz that gives an entire length of what the new BSM rules are that came out in late 2020.
Excellent. So I think some of the guidelines you've just mentioned is pretty cool, and I think people should be aware of them. And sometimes you may not get caught, but if you do get caught, and then there's a direct risk of suspension, so it doesn't worth risking the account itself. So, okay, so we've talked about some of the things we mustn't do. So, do you want to talk to things where a seller is getting more reviews? Do you want to talk through some of the strategies or steps behind that?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. So we'll start off with, Amazon doesn't disclose their review numbers, right? Review rate numbers, I should say, how many reviews get rated per, 100. But the consistent data that we see amongst our users, and then also kind of around the industry itself is reviews. The review rate's about 1 to 2%, so it's fairly low. And using some of these practices we're going to share with you, some of our users are seeing about 7 to 10% increase. So the first one is think about what it is you want the user to do. And what I mean by that is, I'm in marketing, so you kind of have it as your call to action, right? So if you are, for instance, a reseller, chances are you're going to want to just focus on getting seller feedback, right? Like just how was the transaction? Was the delivery smooth? Things like that to ensure that you as a reseller rise above your competition due to the seller transaction. So focus on just getting that, not necessarily the product review, and that'll establish your seller rank and authority on Amazon's A9. And by contrast, if you're a private label, just focus on getting product reviews, just say, hey, leave us our product review. Don't worry about seller feedback too much. So just making a little change like that, like getting the user to go to either a product review or a feedback does increase and does help out. Some other ways to help out is putting up a tool to help you exclude certain buyers from getting a review in the first place. So what we call exclusion lists. So Prabhat, I'm just going to ask you a question real quick. If you, as a buyer, are unhappy with a product and you set up through Amazon that you want a refund or a reimbursement, or a refund, or you want to return it, what are the chances that you're going to leave a negative review?
It's well, for me personally, it will be very minimal, really.
Minimal.
Minimal, yes, because I may not buy from them, but I may not leave the negative review, so to say.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, if somebody prompts me to write a review,
Right.
and then I've had a bad experience with him, so then that's when I may not like it, because they didn't care for what went wrong, but they're asking me to write a review.
Right.
So
exactly. And you're right. If you're prompted after you return or refund something and you get an email saying, hey, leave us a review, you'll be like, you know what? I really didn't like that. And here's why. And that's human nature. Everyone's typically going to do that. So the best way to do that is make sure you have a tool set up so that like FeedbackWhiz, and this is our plug, we have a real-time refund integration with Amazon with our API. So when somebody hits that refund button, it triggers in our system to make sure that they're not sent a review request or a feedback request. So we have what we call exclusion lists. So that's another way. You just make sure that that's a very simple solution of, hey, making sure people that are refunding or returning aren't getting it. Finally, you also want to think about delivery time, right? Like if you're selling supplements, chances are someone's not going to be able to review the product like 3 days later because they haven't seen the 2 to 3 weeks that it takes for supplements or vitamins to kick in. So maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks later is probably a better time to ask for a review or feedback. Setting up specific campaigns around specific target repeat buyers, for instance, for if you want to try out like a new product launch with some of your best customers. That's another way that we help out there. And then also make sure that you deliver everything through a digital world through Amazon, right? So product instructions or warranty information, send that out ahead of time to the user so they don't have to go anywhere. They have the entire product in your entire store delivered to them. So those are just kind of some of the few items that users can think about doing today for a review strategy.
Okay, I think they're all good stuff. So, but a lot of these things you mentioned, it's very simple to understand and to use as well. So, okay, let's talk about your product, FeedbackWhiz. So, if I'm seller on Amazon or resellers on Amazon, private label or reseller, um, so how can FeedbackWhiz can help to get more reviews or new reviews, or how does it help?
Sure. Yeah. So great question. So some of the things we talked about previously, going in and making sure users don't get the correct, refund or returns, for instance, don't get a review feedback, or make sure that it's just a private label versus reseller, like seller feedback versus product reviews. That's all very easy to do in concept, but to scale it on a manual level, it's a little tedious and it's going to take some time, especially if you're filling thousands of orders a month. So it's going to be really hard. You can also ask for product insert, set up product insert cards, but then that kind of goes through, your source team back at the factory, and, maybe that has some costs. So essentially what we do is we help automate a lot of these strategies for you through, mainly through two ways. One, we do that through automating the request the review button on Seller Central. So instead of you having to go in there and clicking the Seller Central request review button every day for every order, we can automate it with some of the best practices we just mentioned, such as focusing it on certain delivery days, or making sure refunds and returns, exclusions, or certain customers only get those reviews. We also have email templates that we can use that through our buyer seller messaging guidelines. Now, these are also customizable, and we give you the tools to help you set that up. But these are probably the most powerful ways to deliver our users' brand and voice to a review strategy with their customers, to ensure that they're still, delivering their store and their experience for their customer. So we have several pre-built templates for users to use, and we have different timing triggers and email automation campaigns that we can help you set up.
Excellent. So I've got a quick question on that. So you mentioned that there is a tool within FeedbackWhiz to request review to all the orders through the order system, rather than clicking one by one. So there's a batch processing there. So, and then there is email templates where we send direct email to a consumer. So we are using one or the other, isn't it? We are not using both.
Correct. And you absolutely can use both. But we also highly recommend, and we give you the tools, and there's prompts within our tool to make sure that you do two separate ways across different ASINs or SKUs. If it's on the same one, we'll have the tool set up to blast you and say, hey, we don't do this. You might get suspended because you have to. But if it's for different ASINs, that's where you're protected, and that's how we are. We recommend, and that's how we have the tools set up for our users to use.
Okay. One last question. So which one is more effective, you think, in your, or not you think, or you might have got an answer to that? Okay, I'll let you talk.
Yeah. Look, it's there's different ways. We've seen high amounts of success using either way. However, more consistent success from the BSM pre-built templates and the email campaigns, just because it does allow for a little bit more personalization in your messages versus the request a review button, or automating the request a review button. So I will say that one. But there is other users that are using the automated RR button, seeing 12% for certain ASINs. So it just depends. But I'm going to say that the email templates through the BSM guidelines is more powerful.
Okay, no, that's good to know. It's good to know. So I think yeah. So we can wrap up now. So so thanks again for your time today. So if the users or viewers of this session want to contact you or get to know a bit more about FeedbackWhiz, where's the best place to get?
Sure. Just feedbackwhiz.com. You'll also see across all social channels: TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, just at FeedbackWhiz. And feel free to reach me. I'm on LinkedIn, Sam Nedimyer, also Sam at feedbackwhiz.com. Any of those ways would be great.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam, for your time again. I'll speak to you. All the best.
Thank you so much. Great to have you. Enjoy across the pond.
Cheers.